So, Joe, kick it to you. What do you think is a better moment, Easter Day or him breaking the All-Star record on the main stage?
I just don't think he has it anymore.
Should any team want Carmelo Anthony?
Blasphemous.
I just don't
go down.
Yes, sir, Carmelo.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, a podcast where we control the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you're a returner, a subscriber, or better yet, a Control the Narrative member, like this fine gentleman is joining us today, we appreciate you all, but we appreciate the members a little bit more, like I was just telling this man right before I clicked record. But we'll get into that in a second. It's March 7th. And Carmelo's still not on the team. Obviously, the panic button has been pushed. You know, he should have been on a team last summer. He should have been on a team before the season started. He should have been on a team by Christmas, then by the All-Star break, then a week after the All-Star break. And here we are over 2 weeks after the All-Star break, or All-Star weekend. And Carmelo's still not on the team. And we're not going to sit here and continue to talk about this team or that team or where should he sign and all that shit, because we've been doing that since fucking July. And we're having the same convos over and over. So we're not going to sit here and say, yo, he should go to Phoenix, or yo, he should go to Memphis, even though that makes a lot of sense. We're going to touch on that. But what this episode is we have started a March Madness bracket of top Carmelo Anthony career moments that is only going to be live on Twitter. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, follow us on Twitter. We're going to be posting polls on it every single day. And that is where you're going to be able to vote and do everything. So at CTRL Narrative on Twitter is where you're going to find this. We'll probably pin it. We'll probably pin it to our Twitter account. So just FYI, that's what we're doing here. We went all the way back to 2003 to him winning a championship at Syracuse and pulled together what we think is the top 16 moments or, you know, series or shots and things like that of his career. And we're going to go through one by one. We're not going to fill out the whole bracket today, but what we are going to do is fill out the first round, because obviously over the next week, 2 weeks on Twitter, it will fill itself out. So with all that being said, I would like to bring on a Control the Narrative member, someone who I was just telling before we clicked record has been here for, I'm pretty close to day one, and one of the top controllers that we've had. He hasn't been on in a minute. I know probably a lot of you who watch this shit or listen to this all the time have been waiting for this guy to come back on. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back the stressed out Joe, a.k.a. J. Dot. How you feeling, bro?
That's what's going on, man. Listen, man, it's been a really stressed out, frustrating last, for me, 3 months. This Carmelo Anthony situation, man, it's gotten way out of control.
Yep.
These GMs, coaches, execs in the league, man, I don't know what y'all thinking. Y'all missing out on a proven scorer the past 3 years off the bench. He can help many teams right now, and it's been really mind-boggling to keep seeing people getting signed, and Melo ain't one of them.
Yep. Bro, I was just we were just saying before, like, Joe goes to work every day and he Googles Carmelo Anthony and sees if there's any updates. I have had Woj notifications on since legitimately end of June, hoping for that one tweet of Carmelo Anthony signs with whatever. And here we are, March 7th. So you literally cannot make this shit up after he accepted even lesser of a role in LA last year. Did his job. And here we are with about 15, 20 games left. And he's still not on the team. So it's crazy. So let's jump into the first question. Before we get into this bracket, I feel like we need to touch on this a little bit more. Just because I know that a lot of people who watch this are looking for insights and looking, you know, for people's reaction of like, yo, how are we feeling about it? So J. Dot, I'll let you go first. Straight up question. How are you feeling about Melo's chances to get signed?
Man, chances are slim to none right now. I give it 25% maybe right now.
That's pretty high.
I think
that's higher than I thought you were gonna say.
I think what's happening in Memphis right now with Ja Morant, and then especially with the injury to Brandon Clark, that opened the door of a small crack for Melo. You know, I still think he fits well in Phoenix. I don't know why in the hell Miami signed Kevin Love over Melo. That racked my brain thinking about that one, man. So think about, like I said, Memphis, Phoenix, even the Knicks to a certain extent, man, off the bench, man. Can bring him that firepower, come playoff time. You know, I think he can help some teams still, man. It just blows my mind that he's still not on the NBA roster right now, man.
Yeah. Kevin Love, by the way, since he joined Miami, is shooting over 5 threes a game at 25.8%.
I don't know.
And you know they didn't bring him there for his defense.
Exactly.
So weird. I have a weird feeling that Carmelo Anthony would not have been shooting 25.8% from three.
He's too good of a shooter, man. Love come off an injury. He signed him anyway.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And he's shooting 36.6% from the field, which is not very good. So, man, Joe, I echo your sentiment. I think it doesn't add up. And, when Melo comes out and provides some clarity, whether that's when he gets signed in a week or whether that's when he retires and writes a letter and explains what happened this year, like we'll know more then. But I think Memphis is really interesting. I think, again, we've been looking at this team versus this team versus this team since July.
Yeah.
And I think something should have happened by the All-Star break, after the trade deadline, a week after the All-Star weekend, and it hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, it's like, damn, what has to happen for Melo to sign on a team? And unless there's a catastrophic injury, I don't know that answer. I think the Grizzlies, that was a pretty catastrophic injury to Brandon Clark, who plays a lot of minutes for them at the 4. And then you have John Morant, who's going through everything he's going through with the gun incident and beating up a 17-year-old apparently and doing all these things. And, Melo wasn't in his shoes in terms of that's what he was doing back then. But Melo got into a lot of trouble early in his career, appearing in videos that he shouldn't have, like stop snitching videos and, getting arrested for DUI and like marijuana at the airport and all these different things. So that, like, those two things, when you combine Brandon Clark being injured and out for the year and John Morant and really the whole Grizzlies team needing a vet who they can really relate to. Because it's one thing, let's be honest, for Steven Adams to be like, yo, you guys need to stop like partying on the road. And it's another thing for a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who grew up in, similar situations to these guys, to say the same thing. And he has more credibility and they can relate more to him. So I think that, like, those two things, the fact that Melo hasn't been signed to the Grizzlies yesterday, the fact that he hasn't been signed to Phoenix a week ago or 2 weeks ago after they made that trade, and just all these different things, it's like I'm so over just like talking about, yo, he fits here, because he fits in so many different places. The whole Knick shit, we've talked about that a lot. I think with Obi only getting 10 to 15 to 18, 20 minutes a game, I don't see how they can split time between him and Melo. But like, if Melo just wants to go back, and I don't think this is a bad idea. Like, if he were to go to the Knicks right now, if he really doesn't have any offers, and he went up to Leon Rose and was like, yo, Leon, I love what the Knicks are doing, 9 in a row, going for 10 in a row tonight. I just want to be a part of this team. I don't even necessarily need minutes. Let me just, be with those group of guys. At this point, if there's no other offers, we all know how much game he has left. But if that's the route he wanted to take, you can't be mad at it. And if he just wants to ride it out and like be another vet for those guys, I think that'd be fun. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to watch him play, but knowing that he is a part of this fun team, this foundation that they're building, I think that's interesting. Like Udonis Haslem type role, but again, the difference between Carmelo Anthony and Udonis Haslem is that Carmelo Anthony can still play at an elite level. We all know that Udonis Haslem can't. But
I don't think this would bring him in just a simple on the bench every game.
Yeah,
for the rest of the season, they wouldn't do that. There's no way they have a.
If he wanted to,
first ballot Hall of Fame sitting on the end of the bench, not playing. I don't think that would go over well with that organization.
Yeah. But if he doesn't have any other offers and he's like, yo, fuck it, like he could stay home near his son, even though his son's not playing high school basketball right now, like I don't know, man.
Oh no.
I don't have
I
any
know.
other explanations. Like literally none. Like people are gonna watch this and be like, "Oh shit, what's the word on Melo?" There's no word on Melo. Mark Stein suggested that the Grizzlies should sign him, and that's the big revelation over the past few days. And I
Yeah,
think that
Marcus.
tells you everything we
That
need
was
to know.
Marcus Spears came out and said that.
Sorry, Marcus Spears. Marcus Spears.
Yes,
Thank
he
you.
did. Yeah.
Marcus Spears came out that, and that's like the big revelation, and that tells us everything
Mm-hmm.
we need to know. Where there is nothing, there's no teams that are rumored. Like the big
Yeah.
rumor about Phoenix and shit like that was because Scoop B asked Durant what he thinks of Melo, and Durant said he could still play in this league or something like that, and that
Yes.
made headlines. That made
Blew up.
headlines. So it's a sad situation, but
Let me ask you a question. Do you think when Melo was in All Star Weekend in Utah, they met up with KD and CP, all those guys? Do you think there was talks with the GMs or whatever about that, or you just think that was all smoke? Because it was said I read somewhere that they had talks privately, whatever, the assistant GM of the
yeah,
Suns and Melo.
yeah. I think I don't want to say it was all smoke, but I think that if Melo wanted to go to Phoenix and Chris Paul and Kevin Durant wanted him, he'd be playing for Phoenix right now. Like, there's no way that they wouldn't
Yeah,
take the chance on him.
yeah,
And like, I know the owner said something that I thought was interesting was he said something along the lines of, we're trying to win the championship this year and for the next like 8 years. So I don't think he's willing to like mortgage the future. But again, it's a vet min contract that this dude is saying,
exactly.
I'll play for you for free. Just let me get some minutes and some shots. And yeah, I don't know, man. I think again, if he had offers, he'd be on a roster right now. And he's came out multiple times in the season and said, "I still want to play in the league." And you know, we say it every podcast where we're just like, "Bro, I can't believe we're back in this situation." As Melo fans, we're back, and he's in this situation. It's crazy.
Yes.
So I don't know, man. Any final words on the situation right now, Joe? Or
No, man. I'm gonna leave the door open. I'll leave my door cracked. You know what I'm saying? For Melo to get signed, we last 15, 20 games for some playoff contending team. Somebody pick him up, man, and he bring that spark off the bench. If
yep,
it happens, I give him about 5 games to get some rhythm going. And he'll be all right. He's a vet, man. He know what he got to do to
yep,
get some rhythm back. So I can see it happening still. My door is cracked a little bit.
yeah. And again, we spoke about this real quick before we clicked record, and we even spoke about this last week on the pod, but I don't think there's any way that he sits out an entire season at 38 years old and comes back at 39 and plays. So if we don't hear anything before the end of the regular season, I think there's 0.0001% chance that he's like, all right, cool, I just sat out another season involuntarily, but I'm going to play again this season. I think then we just see something like he signs a one-day contract with the Knicks. They hang his jersey up. And we all, meet up. Joe comes out to New York City, and we all just reminisce on the good old days and figure out what's next for us in terms of our basketball fandom.
Do you think it's a chance for him to go overseas and play?
No, hell no.
He wouldn't do
No
that, huh?
shot. I don't think
Okay.
he would. I think he has like too much other shit going on. And like his whole thing was he didn't want to be away from his son.
True
That's why
story.
he didn't want
Yeah.
to like really be on the West
True.
Coast. So
I
if
feel
he
you on
doesn't
that.
want to go to LA, if he didn't want to go to LA, he's not going to like Turkey
That's a
or
good point.
Greece to play.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But man, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully before this podcast comes out in about 24 hours, I'll hit Joe up and be like, yo, we have some new breaking news, Joe. You're free to hop on in an hour and we get to talk about it. But
Man,
highly unlikely.
I will leave work, get my car, and do a pod.
Oh yeah. I know you're serious too. I know you're
I am. Dead ass.
I know. All right, man. So what we're gonna do here is we're launching, like I quickly mentioned, a March Madness top Carmelo Anthony moments bracket. And we look back all the way to 2003 on the top moments of his career, whether that's a dunk, whether that's a specific three-point shot, whether that's a record he made, whether that's a season, whether that's a series, and compiled it. Joe has all the matchups right now, and we're going to go through one by one and figure out which moment goes on from each round. So what I'm going to do is, if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I just put the graphic up. If you're watching this on YouTube, obviously you see this in your face. I'm just going to go through each single one, and Joe and I are going to discuss which one moves forward. So the first one, we're going to start with the top left. Yo, sorry to interrupt you if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but just wanted to let you know that we sell merch here at Control the Narrative. We got everything from t-shirts, like I got this Pixel Melo t-shirt right next to me. Then we got this Melo Knicks wrap tee that we sold. This was a bestseller, as you can imagine. We got hoodies, we got new era snapbacks, we got champion beanies. We got a lot of heat on the site for only Melo fans, only those people who control narratives. Shop CTRLthenarrative.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead to the description. You'll see the link there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just type it in, shop A bunch of heat. We're always dropping shit. So go check it out. I'm sure you'll find something you like. And now let's get back to the show. Joe, which one do you think is a better Melo moment? Do you think it's him scoring 62 points at Madison Square Garden, or him scoring 33 points in one quarter with the Denver Nuggets?
I went with the Garden game versus the Bobcats, man. That game was epic. Just being in the Garden for one, and then he went bananas, man. It seemed like he couldn't miss. The rim was an ocean for him, man. 52 points, 13 boards. He shot 6 for 11 from three. Free throw,
No,
perfect.
that's it?
6 for 11, 3 points. 3-pointers.
Are you sure about that, Joe?
6 for 11, I'm pretty sure.
I could have sworn it was way more than 6 threes.
Was it? Check it out. If you can, real quick. 10 free throws, 10 for 10 free throws, plus 34. He was on fire that game, man.
Yeah,
So
you're
it
right.
gotta be
6 for
the
11. 6 for 11. You're right. I don't know why I thought
It's
it
got to
was.
be the Garden game, man.
Yeah.
He was on fire. The half court, half court shot at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Whew. That was
Yeah.
amazing, man. It was a good performance, man. At the Garden.
I agree. 33 points in one quarter. Just FYI, that tied an NBA record at the time. George Gervin had done that earlier, obviously. But 62 points, it's the one seed for a reason. It's one of those games, as a Carmelo Anthony fan, where you remember exactly where you were. I was up at college in my dorm drinking Jaeger, and I just finished playing Tiger Woods on my Xbox. It was a Friday night in January, and all my friends had went out, and I'm like, I'm going to stay in and watch the Knicks game tonight. And I thank myself every single day that I made that decision. So 62,
Yes.
I think we agree on that one. That's
And I was at home watching the game with a bottle of wine going off.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, man, it was amazing, man.
Hell yeah.
That was good, man. But that game, the game when he had 33 in a quarter, he had 45 for the night. That was a good game. He had 4 from 8 from 3, plus minus 14, 45 minutes. That's good too, man. But still, the Garden, that Garden, man, the minute shot, the shot he hit, man, it was an unbelievable performance, man. Hands down.
Again, man, I was just at the liquor store right before this, and I was wearing a Knicks jacket, so the cashier asked me, yo, where'd you get that jacket? I really like that. So I told him, and he said he's a big Knicks fan, and, he was at – first thing he said out of his mouth, he didn't know I was a Carmelo Anthony fan or anything. He goes, yo, I was at the 62-point game where Melo had, what was it, 10 years ago? It was like 9 years ago, but all good. And he was there, and he put money on Melo. Like, he was, like, betting on Melo, and he said that he cashed out everything by the middle of the second quarter, that he had won all of his bets for that night. So his name is Arsh.
Right.
His name is Arsh. Arsh, I told him the name of the podcast. So if you're listening to this, bro, appreciate you. But it, again, just goes to show it's one of those moments that you remember exactly where the fuck you were, 100%. Almost a decade later.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the second one. This one, the 2 seed. Do you think Melo's first game as a Knick was a better Melo moment, or do you think the 3 seed in this side of the bracket, this quarter of the bracket, or do you think the record 37 points versus Nigeria in the Olympics was a better Carmelo Anthony moment?
For me, this was tough for me, man. Although I think I'm going to lean towards the first game as a Knick to get my vote. But that Nigerian game, man, in 14 minutes, 37 points in 14 minutes, man.
Bro, how
He went
crazy is that?
berserk. Think about that. 14 minutes, 37 points.
Yep.
Granted, it's Nigeria, but still, they still pros. Nigeria, he just went berserk, man, went out of control. But the first game is a Knick. You at the Garden again. You and Amari Stoudemire want to come out and make a statement. Like we the big two to get 27-10 in a win versus the Bucks, man, on the big stage. So I kind of had to side with the Knick. First game is a Knick, man. Coming out to his own out of the tunnel. That was dope, man. It's a big moment.
Legendary.
Big moment. He's coming home. He came home. He's
Yeah.
coming home, baby. I got with that, man.
That's a legendary game, man. It's the 2 seed for a reason. One of the 2 seeds for a reason. 37 points in 14 minutes. I just calculated it. That's 2.6 points a minute. That's pretty much like, in an NBA game, there's probably 3-4 possessions in every minute. And that pretty much says that every other possession, for the most part, he hit a 3 for 14 minutes, which is obviously not all of his shots are threes. But, man, 37 and 14 minutes was crazy. But I think that first game as a Knick, that first intro as a Knick, that whole energy, again, one of those times where you remember exactly where you were when it happened. I'm from Long Island, born and raised over here. So Melo was my favorite player since 2004. The Knicks were my favorite team. I never even thought of those two coming together. But when they did, it was everything I never dreamt of and more. I was getting congratulations texts when Melo got traded to the Knicks. People were writing on my Facebook wall saying, yo, your boy is in New York, all this shit.
Right.
So that I'm going to 37 points in 14 minutes is insane, but I don't think this one is close. I think the first game as a Knick is a better Melo moment.
Let me ask you a question. Like, how did you feel when you first saw the trade was official that Melo was a New York Knick to join Amari Stoudemire?
I was on the phone. So this was 2011. So I was 17. No, I was 16 because my birthday's in May. And I was on the phone with my friend watching SportsCenter because I remember there was a lot of rumors about that. And back then it wasn't like Twitter shit. So I had SportsCenter on. I was just looking at the bottom line, like waiting for the breaking news. And it came up and it said the Denver Nuggets trade Carmelo Anthony to the Knicks. And I just started screaming. I was like, no fucking way. All this shit. And my mom was like worried about, I don't know why she was worried about me, but she sprinted up the stairs and was like, what's going on? I was like, Carmelo's on the fucking Knicks. And like that victory lap that I went on for that week, those 2 weeks, really like those first couple years of him in New York, it was, I don't want to leave that time era. Like if we could go back to 2011, 2013,
2012,
that time era,
boy.
That to me was just unbelievable. Like especially for me, like being from New York and him coming here, like that's why I was curious to get your thoughts on this because obviously, you're not from New York, so I wanted to see if it still hit that same for you. And good to hear that.
Man. I got goosebumps, man. Just see him in that tunnel, coming out, waving his hand up and running out, man. That was dope, man.
Hell yeah.
The whole I'm coming home song, classic.
Legendary. Man. Another legendary one.
Yeah.
All right. So chalk so far for the first two, the 1 seed and the 2 seed. And our opinion is moving forward. We'll see if Twitter agrees. Again, if you're watching this, listening to this, this is going to be on Twitter only. We have a lot more Instagram followers than Twitter follows, and we want to get those Instagram followers over to Twitter. So that's why we're doing it on Twitter only, at CTRL Narrative, FYI. All right, next up. Yo, last interruption, I promise. But if you've been listening or watching the podcast for this long, that means you probably fuck with us, which also means you'll probably fuck with all the perks you get from being a Control the Narrative member. We send our members free merch every 3 months, and it's exclusive to our members. We don't also sell this on our site. It's merch only for the members. So, for example, here's one we did. We paid homage to the 2012 Knicks Christmas Day jerseys. Also, all members always get 20% off all of our general drops forever. Like, that's not capped out. That's 20% off every single purchase on our merch website. We give our members free tickets to in-person events. We have a town hall every month. We always try to think about the members first and how we can bring value to those people. So if all this shit sounds interesting to you, go to controlthenarrative.com, click become a member, pick a tier, sign up, and we will see you in the Patreon, man. Excited for this. We have a lot of cool stuff in store for these members moving forward. So go sign up if that sounds interesting to you. And I promise, now we're back to the show for good. 2009 Western Conference Finals versus the Lakers. Now we're considering that whole series because, game 1 was great. Game 2 was great. There was a few other games later in that series in Denver that were great games. Do you think that's a better Melo moment? Something that, sticks out more in your brain? Or was it bubble Melo? Obviously, in the midst of COVID, and Portland went, I want to say 7-1 in the final 8 seeding games, or 5-1 or 6-1, something like that, to make the playoffs. The play-in, they beat Memphis. Obviously went up against the Lakers. So which one to you is a better moment?
Listen, in my opinion, that 09 Western Conference Final was good. It was dope, man. It was dope. It went Kobe and Melo went back and forth, man. That whole series. Ultimately, Lakers ended up winning that 4-2. I think Melo maybe had a game or two where he played as efficient as he would have liked to. But overall, I think it was a good series. I think Lakers ended up winning the title that year, didn't they?
Yeah, smacked the shit out of Orlando in the finals, like Denver would have done.
Yeah. But with that said, Bubble Melo, man, that was just vintage Melo, man, bucket getter, man. That whole bubble, like I watched him give buckets to good defenders. Like Kuzma for the Lakers, bucket, just giving them buckets. Danny Green for the Lakers, bucket. Memphis, what's the guy? Not I can't think his name. Play for Memphis, the forward.
Brandon Clark?
No, the other one. I can't think of his name.
Jaren Jackson?
He's the other one. He's a 3-4. Not Bane. I can't think of his name. It come back to me. But anyway, Brooklyn. Marquise Morris gave him buckets. Houston, Covington, just give him bucket after bucket, man. Just pull up J's, turn around, fadeaway baseline shot, draws. So for me, man, it's got to be Bubble Melo, man. He was getting the business to these supposed to be 3-and-D guys, like multiple times, without even hesitation. So for me, it's Bubble Melo.
Interesting. I think the more memorable, I love Bubble Melo. Like that was the last real excitement. I shouldn't say that because
Dylan Brooks is his name. I'm sorry. Dylan Brooks.
Who? Oh, Dylan
Brooks.
I fucking hate him. Fucking hate that guy. That Bubble Melo stretch of games where I put the stats down. He had 16 points per game, almost 6 rebounds on 43% shooting and 42% from 3. Insane numbers for arguably a fourth option on a team, because you could say Nurkic probably had a higher usage rate than Melo. Don't know if that off the top of my head, but crazy numbers. Exciting basketball where it seems like every single one of those Portland games came down to the wire. That last Brooklyn game was insane. So like that was exciting as hell. Melo had like multiple clutch shots in against the Memphis Grizzlies, and it was unbelievable to watch. It was one of the last real exciting, like holy shit, I'm leaned in as hell Melo moments that we've got to watch. Obviously the playoff series that year after when Dame went fucking off, that was another one of those moments. But for me, man, the conference finals with versus the Lakers, it was really when people acknowledged that Carmelo Anthony was here. When all that happened and that went down and he went toe-to-toe with Kobe and they won a game in LA and they almost won 2 games in LA, that's when people had to put respect on Melo's name. He had been through so much early in his career, like with trouble like Ja's going through right now, and on the court brawls and all these different things. And being robbed of Rookie of the Year, we could go on and on. But that was really the moment where people had to recognize that he was one of the best players in the NBA. So for me, that's always going to stand out. Obviously, they ended up losing, but I'm going chalk there too. I'm going to number one.
That's fair.
Cool. Let's move on to the second one of this little quarter bracket. Interested to hear your thoughts on this one. We have the 2 seed 2013 scoring champion. So this is his season as a whole in 2012-2013 in terms of his scoring versus his 50-point game obviously was in that season, and it was on all jumpers. Didn't score a single point in the paint. No layups, no dunks, no floaters, no nothing. All jumpers. So obviously the same season. But do you think the season as a whole was more impressive and more memorable to you, or that 50-point game in Miami?
Okay, this one I struggled with too. So I had a couple of questions first. Okay, the 50-point game was against the Heat, right?
Yep.
LeBron and the Heat. Okay, his scoring champ season, okay, came down the wire with him and KD.
Yep.
And keep in mind though, KD didn't play the last game of that season, of the regular season, to even battle Melo for the scoring championship. So KD pretty much conceded to Melo. Overall, it was an awesome season for Melo to win a scoring title. It was dope as hell. But for me, that 50 piece, all jumpers against the Heat and LeBron James, 18 for 26 field goal percentage, 8 threes, 8 out of 10 for 3.
That's crazy.
In that year, let's keep in mind, beat the Heat 3 times that year. They beat them 3 and lost 1.
Yep.
Right? So for me, that 50 piece stands out, man, because it came against a great team in the Heat that year. To beat them 3 times, 3 out of 4 times, 50 piece, all jumpers, man. Not going to the cup.
Crazy.
And you can't stop me. I'm just popping them, bam, bam, bam. You can't stop it.
Yeah.
Gotta be the 50 piece, man.
All right.
I'm going with that.
That's fair. So upset both. So here's the little disc. Obviously, I made the list, so I'm always gonna kind of go with the higher seed. But I think the scoring champion. Obviously, that 50 piece was in that season, but every single game, being able to watch Carmelo and the Knicks and know this dude is gonna get utilized to the fucking max, and know that every single night this team has a real chance to win. And obviously, this is like specifically Melo. We're not talking about the Knicks season, but Melo's scoring champ. You know, he beat out KD, like you mentioned. He beat out LeBron. He beat out Kobe. He beat out Harden, and only averaged 28.7. So I think, you know, we look at it today, 10 years later, and for a guy to average 28.7 points per game and win the scoring title, I think really tells you how hard it was to score that era.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, now you have how many guys averaging 50 a game? And back then it's like if you averaged 28.7, you were the best of the best in terms of scoring. So that to me really tells a few stories of how numbers are inflated nowadays, how, you know, how special that dude Carmelo Anthony was with all those guys in their primes. Kobe, LeBron, KD, Harden was like just getting there, obviously, and KD you could say was a little bit on the younger side too, but still all close to their prime. For me, I watched almost every single game that season, and just to know, like, yo, they're gonna give the ball to him in isolation, and there's nothing that the other team can do to stop this guy. Like that was so much fun to me to watch. So like obviously the 50 piece was all time. That's an all time performance. But for me, I value that season more than I do that game.
Fair enough.
But it could go either way. So I'm not. That's why it's the 2-3 seed. It's interesting. All right, let's move to Joe. Top right or bottom right?
Let's go top right.
Top right. Let's get it. The number 1 seed Syracuse championship versus the number 4 seed Olympic record 3rd gold medal as a basketball player. The first Olympic basketball player to receive 3 gold medals. Which one do you think is better, the Cuse chip or the 3rd gold medal?
For me, this is my personal opinion. The 3rd gold medal, it was cool, but in saying that, come on, you got Melo, you got Bron, you got Wade, you got Kobe, you got CP3, you got KD, Paul George. You have to come out with a gold medal. You have to. I mean, if not, it's considered a failure. Okay, so with that being said, for Melo, Was he a freshman that we won a championship at
Yeah.
Syracuse?
Yeah.
To win a chip as a freshman with Hakeem Warwick, McNamara, Keith Duaney, averaging 22, 10, and 2 as a freshman. And I think that year they won favored to win a championship that year, wasn't it? I think wasn't it KU that year?
I doubt it. I'm not sure, but I doubt it.
Right. To go all the way and win the whole thing, man, that said something to how good this kid was at that time was going to be in the next level. So for me, it's got to be the Cuse winning that chip, man, in 02-03. But that's the team he had. He just went off in the NCAA tournament.
Yep. I'm looking it up right now. Syracuse. I'm pretty sure they were the 3 seed, unless I'm making that up. But they were definitely not favored. Like they were
They
not
weren't favored that year.
the number 1 seed.
I don't think
For
so.
sure.
I don't forget who it was.
There was Texas was a number 1 seed. Kentucky was a number 1 seed. Arizona was a number 1 seed.
Okay.
And Oklahoma was. So
Oklahoma.
I can't find Syracuse. Oh, Syracuse was a number 3 seed.
Number 3 seed.
Syracuse was a 3 seed. So a top 12 team.
Yeah. But still, man.
No.
22 and 10 as a freshman.
Yeah. And he elevated his game in the college
big
bracket,
moments,
like he always does. He always elevates his game. But
yes, he does.
For me, man, that's where he made his name. Like he went to Cuse, and obviously Cuse wasn't a huge like the top of the top. Obviously, they're a D1 team, a very good college, and things like that. But for him to as a freshman lead an entire team through an entire country of college teams in that bracket, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen. I'm not a huge college basketball fan, but people say he's one of, if not the best college freshman of all time, one of, if not the best college basketball players of all time. So that's where Melo really stamped his name into the history books, and
100%.
really made it undeniable that he was a top pick in the NBA draft in 03, and he should have been drafted 2nd overall. We could talk about that all day. But for someone to watch that highlight tape, like if you go on YouTube and type in Carmelo Anthony Syracuse, for someone, aka Joe Dumars, to watch that and be like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna go with Darko Milicic. It's crazy. The record 3rd gold medal is amazing. It shows his commitment to playing for his country in the Olympics. It shows his commitment to take a lesser role, and obviously you had those big dogs on the team like LeBron, Kobe. Yet Melo was always one of, if not the best players on the team. So obviously an incredible accomplishment, taking nothing away from him for that gold medal, and it's something that is really one of the highlights of his career. But that Cuse chip for me, same thing. I think it's easy.
And to pick it back, what you said about Joe Dumars, imagine if he would have taken Melo with that Pistons team. He'd have had some championships, man. Fact.
How many?
He'd have some championships.
I'd say 3 minimum, but what the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the 2-3 matchup in that quarter of the bracket. We have the 2 seed come back with Portland. So obviously it's like that whole situation just coming back with the Blazers and everything that he did in that first season. Or the game winner over LeBron, and I'm specifically talking because there's a few game winners over LeBron. But I'm talking about the one when he was in Denver playing in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. And he did, all he did was drop 47 and 6, including the game winner, who was the best team at the time, the Cavaliers. So that's all he did against that team. And, with the Blazers, he had, I don't know why I just zoomed out on that. In the comeback with the Blazers, he went from sitting on his couch to being Western Conference Player of the Week within 2 weeks. So I'll kick it over to you, Joe. Which one's more memorable?
For me, man, it's not even hard for me. It's got to be the comeback with the Blazers for me, in my opinion. To sit out, what was it, 9 or 10 months, whatever it was.
Over a year.
Was it over a year? Yeah, over a year. To get the call and come in Portland and start and average 15, 6, with 2 assists a game, just about shooting 45%, 44% from the field, and 38% from 3-point land. I'm not playing a 1.5 years, man, to come in and do that. That says something to you, to me rather. for that I can play this game still. I can
Yep.
play this game on a high level. So and then to come in next year and put up pretty much the same numbers for the most part. Give or take a point or two. It just shows you, man, what the league is doing to Melo, man. This inconsistencies and not wanting to pick him up, just toying with him, man. The guy can play ball. You know what I'm saying? For me, it is a comeback with the Blazers, man. Easy.
Yeah, I agree, man. That 1 year when he was out, that's when this podcast was born, and that's when we started to really take seriously all the shit that we try to take seriously here. So again, the game win over LeBron, that's like a core memory in my life. I didn't watch that game live. I was at a Sweet 16 at the time, and I remember coming home and watching the highlights on SportsCenter, and I was like, oh my God, that's what Melo did tonight. Like, he beat LeBron, whatever. I was like looking at the stats on my phone, but you couldn't watch shit on your phone back then. Different day.
Right.
But no, that comeback with Portland that he had, being off a year and coming back, and within 2 weeks, winning Player of the Year.
Player of the week.
Within 2 weeks, winning Player of the Week in the West was just something that nobody thought was possible. Controlled all the narratives. So many apology forms were given out. That game winner in Toronto, and that season obviously lasted all the way into the bubble in mid to late 2020. So that is something that, really symbolizes his career in terms of the way he was able to bounce back from things. It proved a lot of people wrong. It allowed all of us to really get a second chance to watch him. And like, not that we took him for granted whatsoever, but, just to watch him play, like we're feeling right now, we're like, God damn, it's been almost a year since we've watched Melo play, and back then it was over a year. So like the same feeling. Can't believe we're going through this twice, but that comeback was special. From getting blackballed to the league to winning Conference Player of the Week, incredible. The way he was able to sacrifice. We made a whole documentary about it. Blackball. Go to blackballdoc.com, blackballdoc.com to watch that. Go ahead, Joe.
Especially that second year, man, because you think about the second year, he didn't start, so he had to come in with a different mentality from the first year. But before came off the bench and still averaged 13.4 points a game, man. Off the bench, he was cool in that role. He thrived in that role too, man. He accepted that role, and then follow him to Portland want to bring him back for whatever reason. Okay, cool. Lakers, cool. Come off the bench again. It's still putting up numbers, man. It just is.
And he took a less role because he was just a spot-up shooter in LA last year.
Every time I think about it, man, from Portland to LA, it fucks with my mind to know why he ain't on job right now.
Joe, we're all, the thing, and this is a perfect timing because the reason we started this pod is because we all feel the same way. Like everything you just said, I feel the same way, and I thought I was crazy for feeling like that. I was like, bro, am I the only one who thinks this dude can still be really effective in the league? And then I started getting on Twitter, and then I was like, holy shit. Like, there's a lot of people that feel like that, but they just get made fun of. Like, you're not allowed to talk about this. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, we have to start talking about this. So it wouldn't have done much if I was the only one speaking on it, which is why, over the 127 plus episodes that we've done, getting everybody else's opinion and not like convincing them to be like, yo, you have to say what we believe, but literally them saying what they believe is the reason that I think people are drawn to like this idea of controlling the narrative, because it's like anytime you have a different idea, whether that's in sports or whether that's in anything in life, you're crucified for it if the general public doesn't agree. So it's interesting and it's good timing.
Very. It is, man. Man, I'm so enthusiastic about you for starting this up, man, and to see you where you are right now with this whole control of narrative thing, man. Man, shout out to you, S. You've been holding it down, doing your thing for years now, bro. Man. So salute to you on this, man. Much love, respect.
I'm trying, man. Just to keep this platform going for like people to get on here and voice different opinions in an era where you're not allowed to do that. So anyway, that's a good one though. So we both agree comeback with the Portland was a better Melo moment than the game win over LeBron, even though that game win over LeBron was great. All right. Bottom right now, a 1 seed. This was the Easter Day performance at MSG. I don't know if I need to say more about that. Then he scored 43 points on 52% shooting, including the game-tying shot at the end of the fourth quarter and then the game-winning shot in overtime from pretty much the same exact spot. Versus him breaking the NBA All-Star record for threes in a game in 2014 when he hit 8 of 13 from the field from 3. Sorry. So, Joe, kick it to you. What do you think is a better moment, Easter Day or him breaking the All-Star record on the main stage?
That All-Star game shooting display, it was a beautiful thing to watch, man. Yeah, it's All-Star game activity. We ain't much defense play. We get all that, but to go hit 8 threes, man, 8 out of 13 threes. That's what Melo do. He shoot at a high clip, but he makes his threes, man. And his form, his shot, it's a beautiful thing to watch. That form, man, is perfect. So, like, if you're a shooter, man, you should watch tape on Carmelo Anthony jump shot. It's fluid. Anyway, I ain't getting all that, but I'm going with Easter game versus the Bulls.
Yeah.
Those two dagger threes, man, at the end of the fourth quarter and the OT, 43 points. One of the threes came against Luol Deng, who was a good defender. On that stage, man, it got to be Easter game versus the Bulls, man. And that's the D Rose Bulls too. It was hot. They was moving and groove that year too. So for me, it's the Easter game versus the Bulls. D Rose, prime D Rose too.
Yep. Prime Bulls, like you just said. I think this one's easy. All-Star record for threes is great. It's been broken 2x by now. Curry hit 16 last year. So
did he really hit 16?
16.
Damn, I ain't know that.
NBA All-Star record threes.
He hit 16 threes?
It's a record-setting 16 three-point field goals
I watch that film.
Last year. It was the one where he shot it, turned around.
Oh, okay. I did hear about that. Okay.
Dude is unfucking believable, but this one's easy for me. It's the number 1 seed for a reason. That Easter Day game. Another one of those you remember exactly where you were when it happened. Melo moments as a Melo fan. The game-tying 3 in the fourth quarter, at the end of the fourth quarter, and then the game-winning 3 in overtime. And he got fouled. Go look at the replays if you don't know what I'm talking about. Again, just one of those moments where Melo, not by himself, because like they had a few pieces, like JR was on that team. Amari may have played in that game. He might have been hurt. But like they had a few pieces, but Carmelo Anthony beat the Chicago Bulls, who were one of, if not the best teams in the East, let alone the whole league. It's just like, holy shit, he just did that again. Just crazy. Steve Novak was on the team. So again, they had a few pieces, but like Melo being the guy. This was a little bit after Linsanity had died down, and Melo is, just getting abused for, oh shit, Melo's doing this and Melo's jealous and all this bullshit that people were making up at the time. Just one of those where were you when moments as a Carmelo Anthony fan that I think we'll all remember.
I remember that
as long as we're alive.
I remember that because I had a birthday party at a hotel that weekend. My boy from Chicago came in town. We was in the hotel that Sunday watching the game, drinking, watching the Knicks and Bulls game. They Bulls fan all the way from Chicago. I was Knicks and Melo fan. We going back and forth yelling. You get tipsy a little bit. I remember that. It was a good day, man. It was a great game. Yeah, I remember I was at doing that game.
So tell us what happened when he hit those 2 threes.
I get up yelling, man. Yelling, screaming at the TV. Yeah. Yo, sit your big ass down. Get mad at me.
Yeah. I think I've told this story before, but bro, I was working as a server that day in a restaurant, and they had the TV up in the corner, and I put it on, and my manager Carrie had like a camera up there, so like I was like, giving people their gyros and French fries or whatever, and just like looking over in the corner whenever the fuck I could. So obviously, when it got down to the last few minutes, I was just over there watching, freaking out and like screaming with all the customers in the store, like just like turning around, like looking at me, and she came up and yelled at me because I was screaming and freaking out. So worth it. so fucking worth it.
Absolutely,
Worth
man.
it getting in trouble.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Legendary. That I would not be surprised if that one right there goes on to win the whole goddamn thing. But we'll let Twitter decide.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. That was a good moment, man. And
Legendary.
that moment, then most recent for me, it was Bubble Melo against Memphis. Hit those
Yeah.
put shots, man, against Memphis. Man, that was big time, man.
Fucking legendary time, man. And like again, I hope that we get a few more of these moments where we're like, "Yo, Joe, you remember this shit?" I hope so.
Come on,
Really do.
fingers
All
crossed.
right. Last matchup, J. Dot. Bottom right, the 2 seed, Carmelo's dunk on Paul Millsap as a Denver Nugget, or Carmelo's game winner in Dallas in the playoffs that secured game 3 for them and had them go up 3-0. Really his only true game winner in the playoffs. He's had a couple of daggers and things like that, but that was like his true game-winning moment, and that was in the second round of 2009. So I'll kick it back to you. Which one do you think is the better Melo moment?
With this one, man, I'm like split down the middle, 50-50, man. I can't. If I have to pick one, I would go. The dunk on Millsap for me.
Why?
Just because back then that was a Paul Millsap was in his prime, young Paul Millsap, 3-and-D guy, and you went up and bumped bodies with Paul Millsap and got the dunk, and they won that game too, right? Did they win that game? That game?
That was tip off. Maybe, I'm not sure. I could find out for you.
I'm going to dunk on Paul Millsap. So Paul Millsap was a beast back then, man.
Yeah, he was. That was the first game of the season. That was the tip-off game. They did win. They did win that game. Melo had 30. 38-5.
38-5?
Yep. 38-5.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. And I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I'm going to go the game winner in Dallas. I know I put this dunk on Paul Millsap too. It was the best dunk of Melo's career. There's no doubt about that. And he used to get up a little bit. He was never, LeBron when it came to dunking. But Melo could get up a little. He caught a few bodies in his days on the court. That game, it was game 1. It was just after they lost to the Lakers in the conference finals. And everybody was like, all right, cool. The Nuggets lost this year and the Lakers went on to win the finals. And, maybe they could bounce back. So, like, that game just, like, they started off the season, I think, like 5-0 or something like that. So it gave the team a lot of good energy and good vibes, after a really disappointing end to their season before, obviously, Game 6 of the conference finals, they were 2 games away from winning a championship because if they beat the Lakers, they were going to beat Orlando. But I think the game winner in Dallas, that being his real true game winner in the playoffs, it came after the foul. Remember, like the dude was trying to foul him. I forgot who it was. Might have been like
it was DeLon Wright and
Delon Wright.
Right. And you think, look at the film, he did foul him, and the play stopped, but he stopped. He thought the ref blew the call.
Yep.
So technically, the ref blew the damn call. He didn't. He can't foul, but he didn't hit the shot. So hey,
everybody stopped playing besides Carmelo Anthony.
Exactly.
And he was just like, all right, took one more dribble, pulled up, hit a 3. I think there was under a second left. So Dirk had a last second, shot. The Mavs called the timeout. But for me, man, like again, when we think about that was Melo's first time out of the first round. So they demolished the Hornets in the first round. They went up against Dallas, who 2 years later won the whole damn thing. Like, this was a really, really good Dallas team even back then. Obviously, they made a few additions and shit like that. But that was a really good Dallas team, even though they were the 7th seed. Sorry. So they beat the 7th seed Hornets, and then they went up against so the Mavs were the 3 seed or the 6 seed. I don't remember. But really, really good Dallas Mavs team. There was like a lot of talk.
That year?
Who?
They beat Miami that year, didn't they? Dallas. They won
2011, yeah. But 2 years. Yeah, I'm saying like 2 years after.
Oh, okay.
I won it all. So like they were close. Like it was a really good team. I'm not saying they were a championship team. So that to me, like, really, when we look back at Melo's career and look at his top game winners, that is going to be near the top of the list, with that Easter game and things like that. So that for me, man, when we think about that and what that meant going up 3-0 and obviously not 100%, but like securing Melo's first trip to the conference finals with that shot essentially was special. And again, I remember watching that in my friend's little living room and going crazy. So just one of those core memories, bro. Like for us Melo fans who haven't had too much playoff moments to really, really cheer for, the ones that we have had to cheer for really stick out to me. And that being, his best game winner in the playoffs in terms of like how much time was left after winning. I think that one gets a nod for me. But the dunk on Paul Millsap was incredible. Best dunk of his career.
True story.
All right, Joe. We just went through all of them. Next week, L Mac and I, and we'll see if anyone else is going to come on, are going to go through the next round or maybe Final Four or something. But real quick, before we get to the control and narrative, give us what your moment is that you're predicting is going to win this bracket. Is it the 62? Is it the bubble Melo? Is it the Easter? Like, which one for you is you think?
Tough, man. It's a tough call. If I have to pick one, I will say the guard Melo. You got
Easter?
points. No.
Oh, no, 62? 62?
Yeah, I have to go with that, man. Either that or that Easter game. It's going to be one of those two. But that Garden game, man. Whew, that was something, man. That was a show.
I know. I mean, I think both of those are strong candidates, both number one seeds. So we'll see, man.
It gave me goosebumps just watching it in the highlights, man.
Yeah, I know.
Man, my hair.
I remember when when COVID was a thing, they replayed that on like YouTube. I remember like the whole game is available on YouTube. FYI, Joe.
Okay, I know that.
So if you want to watch the whole damn thing, just type in Carmelo 62 on YouTube, and they got the whole game. So pretty cool, I think. Unless that's the Easter game, and unless I'm just Carmelo 62. Let me double check that because I don't want. Yeah, it is. It is. An hour 37 minutes. Yep. Oh yeah. So, Joe, great fucking context on that. Great guesses. I feel like a lot of your guesses are really good, and it's good to like. Again, man, it's one thing for people who started watching Melo when he came to New York, or like even like the end of OKC and like Portland, all these things. But like that's why I was like, all right, cool. I'm hyped that you were coming on because I know you've been watching this guy for a fucking minute, just like me. So we can compare different eras and like what did this moment mean then versus now. So, J-Dot, good ass fucking episode. But as you've been here a bunch of times, before we let our guests go, we let our guests control a narrative. It doesn't have to be Melo related. It doesn't have to be basketball related. It doesn't have to be sports related. So if you have one, I will give you the floor and let you control a narrative.
I have one, man, and my control narrative goes back to what this show is about. The show is predicated on Carmelo Anthony. This guy right here, Carmelo Anthony. Number 7, right? It is a damn shame that this man is not in the league. So for all you GMs out here, execs, coaches, or whoever is making these decisions, man, let's just stop the foolery, man. Whatever you guys have got in your head that he can't play defense, or he's a cancer in the locker room, or he can't play defense in playoff time, just stop it. You got to come out here going outside and Kevin Love to deals like he play defense. These other bums who getting deals to play out the rest of the season. Let's stop. This man deserves to go out on his own terms. Doesn't deserve to retire at the end of this year because no one picked him up. That's fucking blasphemy right now. That's blasphemy, as Steve A. Smith would say. He deserved to go out on his terms. So that's my narrative I want to control. It's for these GMs and these execs to stop making all these false narratives about Melo or what he ain't. We all know what he is. His teammates he played with love him. I ain't got a bad thing to say about the guy, man. So let's stop this foolery and get him in for the last 15, 20 games of the season.
Well said. And to win a goddamn chip.
Yes.
Or Phoenix or Dallas or whoever the fucking Boston, whoever needs to be, he can help your team.
Memphis. Memphis can
he
win it
can,
too.
he can help your team,
Yes.
and we'd love to see him play. So the new Suns over Matt Ishbia.
And I can see him. I can see him coming to Memphis and being like he was in Portland with a young team and come off the bench and really be a spark for that team. I can see it, man. But
man, they have a huge hole at that 4 now.
yeah,
Huge hole.
humongous.
Hey, Dot, pleasure as always for
Absolutely,
for you to get on here and hop on. Been a minute, so glad we could get the shit in. We'll see, man. I hope, we've been on here for 58 minutes and counting. I hope that all this goes to waste because we get a notification tomorrow saying that Carmelo's signing with someone. I'm absolutely not banking on that whatsoever, but we'll see, man. We'll obviously be in touch over the next few weeks and months and see how all this shit plays out. But always appreciate your input and context.
My man. Appreciate you, B.
Stay mellow, baby.